So, if you see temperature ranges across these four locations, we can see that average temperature is quite high at three different locations and a bit lower at Gilgit, which is for sure its Himalayan region. Similarly, we can see the day length distribution across four locations. Here we can see small differences within the day length distribution across four different locations. And third, the important factor is rainfall distribution. We can see that almost at four locations, most of the rainfall is occurring somewhere between June and September. So this is the monsoon period in Pakistan where most of the rain or most of the rainwater comes from. Then, and now I should introduce soybean in Pakistan. So initially, soybean was introduced in Pakistan somewhere in 1960. Uh, this is with the help of United States, and initially the germplasm was brought from the USA. So what happened that in the beginning, the area under soybean cultivation increased, plus the initial yield was good. But then later, what happened that in the next decade, the soybean cultivation decreased because there was no availability of market. I should also mention over here that in Pakistan and India, soybean introduction started at the same time, that is in 1960s. But what happened that now at present, India is the almost fourth largest soybean producer. And Pakistan, its production is almost negligible. And the factor, as I mentioned, that unavailability of market. Second, we did not have proper production technology, and then there was other issues like the yield was low, and the area it was not growing due to other crops. So, but what potential we have? This is really important. That surprisingly, in Pakistan, we can grow soybean in three different seasons. At present, we are growing soybean in two seasons, that is spring and autumn. So, spring season starts from somewhere mid February to mid March, and harvesting takes place somewhere between mid May to mid June and early July. And then autumn season it starts from mid July to mid August, and then threshing or harvesting starts somewhere in mid August and mid September. No, these two seasons have really different dynamics. If you see in spring season, higher temperatures they occur at the time of grain filling or terminal heat stress, because mostly the crop is maturing at the time like when there is May, June or July months, and this is the time of the year when the temperature is highest in Pakistan. In autumn season, if you see, the stress occur at the time of germination, because sowing starts somewhere between mid July to mid August, and again there is high temperature. So this is quite interesting phenomena, because we have to grow soybean in two different seasons, but at the same time we have two different challenge, one at the terminal stage and second at the seedling stage. So what why we are interested in soybean and why soybean is important to Pakistan. So at present we are almost spending $1 billion, or I should say 1,000 USD on soybean import just to meet poultry feed requirements. We are also spending around 2 to 300 million USD to meet the livestock feed requirement. Pakistan is also among the largest importer of edible oil and oil seeds, which stands almost at 35 to 400 400,000 USDs. So altogether, if we see, soybean is offering almost 5 billion to 6 billion dollars per annum add or subtraction in the economy. Now, what are the problems we are facing in Pakistan with respect to soybean cultivation? As we know that soybean is highly photoperiod sensitive crop. It is also heat sensitive, and at the same time there are low yields. And in the beginning we did not have enough germplasm, and the proper production technology was not available. And the most important thing, this crop has competition with other major crops like maize, sugarcane, and cotton. The reason is that people grow these crops or prefer these crops because they get more economic return from these three crops compared to soybean, which is related with its. Here, this picture is very interesting. This is the genotype, which is very good and high yielding. And here you can see on left hand side, this is Faisalabad, and this is spring sown soybean. And you can see that number of pods on this plant, they range between 400 to 500. Extremely high yielding crop. When the same line was sown at a different location, very north, as the mentioned Gilgit, the area which I mentioned near to China, you can see the performance of the plant, where the plant height, number of branches, and even number of pods, they reduce significantly. So the yield reduction is almost 80 to 85%. This is the major threat. So to overcome all these problems, we started work on soybean research and development back in 2016 at the Center for Advanced Studies at University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. This center was established with the help of USAID and in collaboration with UC Davis, USA. So the purpose of yeah, yeah. So the purpose of this lab was to revive soybean cultivation and also meet our current and future need by using conventional plant breeding and modern plant breeding approaches. Also develop the production technologies and use all the means and method available to make it sure that Pakistan is self-sustained in soybean production. So, how we started that in collaboration with the UC Davis and United States Department of Agriculture, we used a computer-based simulation model, and we mapped whole Pakistan into different areas based on climate and temperature ranges. And from the USDA collection, we selected almost 5,000 diverse soybean accessions. And these actually lines, they are from USDA, but their origin is from almost all over the world. Like for example, Brazil, China, India, Korea, Canada, Argentina, almost from all the major soybean growing countries, we collected the jump log. And this is how we started work on soybean. And from these 5,000 lines, we selected highly promising jump log, which we thought that this could be potentially suitable for cultivation in Pakistan. We also did a nutritional profile of all this material, making it sure that it is suitable to end use industry. What we did, this material was tested at 5 to 15 different locations across Pakistan in spring and autumn season. There are certain locations, for example, northern Pakistan, where we can grow soybean only in one season. In central Punjab, we can grow soybean in two seasons. Again, in southern and some further areas, we grow in one season, and that is spring season. And during these screenings, we did morphological characterization, nutritional profiling, biochemical analysis, physiological analysis, genetic evaluations, and also determined the biotic and abiotic stresses response of all these lines against all these factors. As we know that soybean has different maturity groups, so what we did, like we acquired this jump plasm almost belonging to all the maturity groups. As I mentioned, that Pakistan has highly diverse environment, not only in terms of weather condition but also due to its geography. So we were supposed to get material from all maturity groups. Then this is the representation from 4 areas, and here we are just presenting some of the selected lines. If you can see that yield in autumn and spring season, so there is a difference in performance between these two seasons. In autumn, because temperature is low at the time of grain filling, and here you can see that all the genotypes, they have higher per plant yield compared to spring season, when the temperature is almost 40 or 40 plus degrees. And this was the major problem which we were facing at that time, and our objective was that we should identify or breed those genotypes which are actually suitable for cultivation at higher temperatures or in spring season. Similarly, if you can see the trend again, this is the seed yield at a different location, which I mentioned the chakwal, and the same trend that all genotypes, they are performing better or their yield is better in autumn season compared to spring season. Again, this is another city where you can see the temperature goes really high in spring season. Again, the yield is low, and in autumn season the yields are better. And these are the comparisons of plant height at 4 different locations. So we consider plant height. It is important because, as we know, that biomass is directly associated with ultimate yield. But what happened in Pakistan, like there are many lines which gain more biomass during spring season, but the ultimate yield is lower. And it's vice versa in the autumn season. The biomass is lower and the seed yield is higher, which is again very interesting. So this is again the comparison of number of pods at different location. So here you can see that the northern areas, all the genotypes, they were having extremely low number of pods, and then as we go towards south, the number of pods started to increase. So here we brought another thought in this program, that now we need to screen the lines based on its area and its specificity, and that was the second part of our research. Again, if we see in this graph, there are number of seeds at different location. So repeatedly we are seeing the same phenomena, that as we go toward north or higher latitude, the seed parameter or yield related traits, they started to decrease, and as we go towards south, the yield related parameters, they start to increase. So again, if we see this, there are again same trends in all genotypes at different location. So what we did, from these all lines, we did a nutritional profile. So based on this protein, you can see that this is the profile which is describing only the protein content. So we profile the material having almost 32% protein to all the way almost 40-45% protein content. Similarly, we mapped the oil content, and here we can you can see that we have different genotypes which are having oil content ranging between 14 to almost 25%. And then this is again very interesting. This is the oil and protein content variation between two different seasons, that is spring and autumn. So I again mentioned the spring season when terminal temperature is low and terminal temperature is high, and autumn season when terminal temperature is higher. So here you can see that oil and content, it's decreased, And again, the protein and oil content there, we can see significant variation at different temperature in different growing season across almost all genotypes. Excuse me. And again, this is the fatty acid profile. We also mapped that what different types of fatty acids are present and what about their content under different environmental conditions. So here we can see that the composition of fats or composition of oil, it is also significantly altered during spring and autumn season. Now, this is very interesting. What we did, we were trying to optimize the best sowing time at a different location. So here you can see that there are different sowing times. So we started our spring sowing from 15 February, and each sowing was done with 15 days interval. And you can see that from 15 February to 15 April, the spring sowing was done. And here I mentioned conventional line. These are the lines which we have already in available in Pakistan. So you can see that what happens, that we took 15 February sowing as ideal or as standard, and then rest of the dates were either compared with this 15 February sowing. So three parameters were taken into the consideration: plant height, biomass, and yield. Interestingly, as I mentioned earlier, that in spring season you can see that plant height and biomass, it was not reduced that much compared to the standard date, but yield, it is significantly reduced. And if you see in April 1st or 15 April sowing, the yield is almost 80% less compared to the standard check or standard check date. On the right hand side, again, we mentioned the winter sowing, and winter sowing started from 15 July to 15 September. Again, here the trend is a bit different. That is, along with seed yield, the plant biomass and plant yield, it also decreased significantly. So we can see that as we are progressing towards lower temperature ranges, the plant biomass and plant height and even yield, it tends to decrease. These are our conventional lines. So what happened, if you see the bottom left graph, these are our advanced lines. So the good thing is that if you see these lines, they retain their biomass and yield as well. So this was quite interesting, and this April sowing mean that the plant will mature somewhere in mid July or mid August, when the temperature is almost around 50 degrees Celsius. So you can see that these lines, they are not only maintaining their plant height, their biomass, but also retaining their yield as well. On the left bottom right hand side, if you see, again, these are our advanced line. So again, even in winter sowing or autumn sowing, they have better advantage compared to our conventional line. So although they are reducing biomass, plant height, and yield, but still at the end of the day, their yield advantage is almost 20% higher than the conventional line. So again, here we also determined that between 15 July to 15 August is the optimum temperature, optimum time for soybean cultivation. Interestingly, we have identified some lines which are suitable for cultivation even after 15 September, or at least somewhere between 15 September and 1st of October. And I will present those lines a bit later in this presentation. Here you can see the comparison. This is actually the real finding of these research, that these are the lines on left hand side. You can see these are the conventional lines which we are growing in Pakistan, and this is the crop which was harvested in this spring season. So here you can see the right hand side, These are our elite lines for spring season. So if you see the comparison, yield comparison is almost 80 to 90%. So on left hand side, these lines they take almost 110 to 130 days in maturing or in maturity in spring season. Their yield is around 15 to 20 months. On right hand side, these lines they mature in 90 days or less than 90 days, and their yield goes above 25 months per acre. And again, if you see these down two picture, the where I have presented the seed, the heat susceptible varieties they produce shrivel seed, and this seed it does not germinate in next generation. Similarly, this seed has poor quality and excuse me, and it has less industrial utilization. On right hand side, the grain filling is proper, and this seed is viable, and the viability is almost 80 to 90%. This was another big achievement because previously whatever line we were sowing in spring season, it was not producing viable seed. So production of viable seed was a major milestone which we had achieved in spring season. On left hand side, you can see that these are the number of lines which we have actually identified for different purposes. For example, there are almost 100 lines which are suitable for different cropping systems. There are above 150 lines which are suitable for spring season, and there are almost more than 50 lines which are suitable for intercropping technologies, and I will talk about that technology as well a minute later. Then there are certain trait specific lines, for example, or an industry specific line, for example protein and oil enriched line, which are almost 150. There are certain silage specific lines, and there are many other lines which can be used for vegetable purposes. So we try to cover almost all aspect of soybean utilization in different industries. Again, this is the genetic evaluation what we have, and here you can see like this is actually dramatic change, that this material is again from spring season. And spring season, when I talk about, this is almost mid of March or early April sowing, and the material is matured at a temperature which is above 45 degrees. You can see the number of pods, grain filling, plus plant height, and the genetic variability. This is quite significant, and we can use this genetic variation for establishing soybean in different areas wherever there is a problem of high temperature or even drought or other stresses. On the left hand side, if you can see, there are our traditional lines or approved varieties.
Sorry for the interruption.
इस पे रुको हुए Hello.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's almost the time. I don't know whether you are going to finish it or not.
Yeah, 3-4 more minutes and I am done.
Okay.
Okay, so quickly we can finish, and now you can see my slide or not?
Do you want to use the PPT, the slides, or just speak? You just speak. It's okay.
Okay, just a second.
Yes, go on.
So again, I can just quickly, I guess something went wrong with this presentation. So as I was mentioning about this genetic variation, so now we have lines specific for different season, and